Hello, everyone. Today's biggest news, which is going around about coronavirus, is about a vaccine जिसको रशिया ने क्लेम किया है. They have claimed कि they have successfully started deploying a vaccine. They've given approval, which means that they believe that their vaccine is fairly successful. इस वैक्सीन का नाम, the name of this vaccine is after the first satellite which was sent by the Soviets in space. It's called Sputnik V. स्पुतनिक 5 इज द नेम ऑफ द वैक्सीन. यह है नाम वैक्सीन का, और रशिया ने अनाउंस किया है, उनकी सरकार ने, इनफैक्ट उनके प्रेसिडेंट पुतिन खुद इन्वॉल्व है इसमें. एंड ही हैज अनाउंस्ड दैट वैक्सीन इज ही इज वेरी श्योर अबाउट इट्स इफेक्टिवनेस एंड दैट Russia will go ahead with the deployment of this vaccine. So this vaccine becomes, the way the media said, the first approved vaccine for coronavirus. But as always, it is important to scratch the surface because this seems to be probably too good to be true. बिकॉज जब रेस में हम जिन वैक्सीन की बात कर रहे हैं वो स्ट्रगल कर रही हैं इस साल के अंदर वैक्सीन लाने के लिए, सडनली रशिया कम्स अप विद स्पुतनिक 5 एंड सेज दिस वैक्सीन इज अप्रूव्ड एंड वी विल डिप्लॉय इट. So it's important to go beyond the obvious news which is floating in the media that Russia ने कोई वैक्सीन डेवलप कर ली है. So today's session is dedicated to finding the reality of the Russian vaccine Sputnik 5. So let's go. Sputnik 5 was a vaccine, if you remember, followed me in the past. हमने एक बात करी थी रशियन वैक्सीन की इससे पहले भी, और वो जो रशियन वैक्सीन थी, it was being developed with the help of the Gamaleya Research Institute of Epidemiology and Microbiology. और ये एक गेमेलिया करके एक इंस्टीट्यूट है. गेमेलिया इंस्टीट्यूट के साथ रशियन मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस, यानी कि रशिया की जो रक्षा मंत्रालय है, they were working together to develop a vaccine. इसके पहले भी एक न्यूज आई थी कि Russia has successfully tested a vaccine, and we had gone beyond that and in a way also debunked it. And it's the same vaccine now. Russia is claiming कि ये vaccine success हो गई है and we will deploy it. And now they've also named it as Sputnik 5. But now it's important to go beyond this. Let's go back to the same figure which we have been using for explaining all vaccines. And this is the figure of how clinical trials work. And for those of you who are new to it or have forgotten it, this is how it looks like. A vaccine typically goes through a preclinical trial stage where it उसको जानवरों पे टेस्ट किया जाता है, usually monkeys, which are closer to humans in genetics. Then it begins the phase 1 trial where it is given to a very small sample size of 20 to 80 participants. उनके ऊपर ऑब्जर्व किया जाता है. Once that results are good. Now remember, Oxford vaccine के phase 1 trials have been extremely positive. And we are expecting any time phase 2 और 3 के trials के results क्या आएंगे. फिर phase 2 trial होता है जिसमें 300 के करीब participants हो सकते हैं. Phase 3 trials can lead up to 3,000 participants, even more. And then there's a review, and then phase 4 happens. Typically, if a vaccine starts at stage 1, which is phase 1, there's a 10% chance that it will eventually cross to phase 4. So it's very difficult to develop a vaccine. And that is the reason why vaccines go through a clinical trial process. And this is an established process by the international authorities for a very long time. And the reason why vaccines are tested on phased manner is because vaccines are given to healthy people. स्वस्थ लोगों को वैक्सीन दी जाती है. अगर वैक्सीन का कुछ दुष्परिणाम निकलता है तो वो जो बैड इफेक्ट है, जो साइड इफेक्ट है, इट कैन बी लीथल एंड दैट टू ऑन हेल्दी पीपल. दैट्स व्हाई वी आर एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग. द एक्सपेरिमेंट इज एक्सट्रीमली रिस्की because the subjects involved. What has Russia done, and which has really made it jump from here to there? What has Russia done is that Russia has said that we will jump from phase 1 trial straight away into phase 3 trial. And they have even approved it for thousands of people. They're saying we'll take it to thousands of people and we declare that baki we'll skip a whole testing process. Now, usually each phase can take months. And Russia has said we'll just skip phase 1. And in fact, they'll go to phase 3. In fact, they're almost going towards phase 4. They're saying we'll deploy it over a much larger scale. And because of that jump, they are claiming that they have been successful at testing the vaccine and their vaccine is more or less ready. But that is a huge risk. An international community of medical experts, including WHO, including American agencies and UK agencies, have raised objection कि ये जो तरीका है वैक्सीन बनाने का और जंप मारने का स्टेप्स को, एक पूरे 1 या 2 स्टेज को जंप मारने का, that is an extremely dangerous step. And a government declaring openly that a vaccine is okay without a test result coming is extremely worrisome. In fact, it is so worrisome because if I talk about even the phase 1 trial जो उन्होंने किया था, let's put a bit of more light on the phase 1 trial. The phase 1 trial was done on exactly 38 ordinary people. aged between 18 to 60. Add to this 50 people from the armed forces. Now, whether armed forces test was voluntary or compulsory, we do not know, but that's a bit of a gray area. But on these 38 plus 50 people, this test was done, the phase 1 test. And we don't even have the proper result in the study of that phase 1 test, because that test results will come in the middle of this month. But on a data जो उन्होंने disclose नहीं किया है दूसरों को, they have, their president has gone on air and said कि, well, I'm trusting this vaccine and I'm going to go ahead with it. Now, this is obviously a huge gamble which they are playing, partly because of two reasons. One is the fact that Russia is obviously has a lot of coronavirus cases, even in its villages, and it is obviously dealing with it. It's a smaller population and many more cases comparatively. And the other big problem Russia is facing is it's almost an opportunity, which at least the Western media is saying it's an opportunity to project national pride by being the first one to invent such a vaccine for such a deadly disease. This vaccine is essentially exactly the same model around which the Oxford vaccine is built. The vaccine uses the two strains of adenovirus. Adenovirus is a special kind of a virus which typically causes common cold. So a small percentage, about 30-40% of common cold can be caused by adenovirus. It's a harmless virus, but उस adenovirus को genetically modify करके उसमें coronavirus का protein डाल के, when it goes to the body confuses it, or rather realizes कि coronavirus कैसा होगा, and it starts producing the right antibodies. Now, we have seen clinical trial, your first clinical trial results थे for Oxford vaccine, and we found out last month that it is this adenovirus technique has already not only producing antibodies, but also T-cell responses, which is a great news. And Russia is using, the Gemelli Institute is using exactly the same technology in its vaccine, and it is just jumping a few stages and declaring that the vaccine is commercially available. But it's a very dangerous step, by the way, which also brought the international focus on one more item. The Western, especially the UK people, they are saying that the Russians are trying to steal their vaccine technology. So there's an issue of espionage and spying. And there's an accusation by the Western powers that the Russian spies are trying to hack into and steal the information on the Oxford vaccine and then using it as Sputnik V in their own name. We do not know whether this is right or wrong. This is an accusation. Russia denies it. Western media is projecting it. We do not know what is right or wrong. But the current news is that the Russian vaccine, which the entire media is talking about, has only completed phase 1 trial. Only completed phase 1 trial on about 80 people. And those results are also not properly out and they're not properly published. But because of some data they have or some hunch they have or a sheer reason to be the first one to discover the vaccine, Russia is taking a giant leap of faith. Now, ऐसा नहीं है कि ये पहली बार किया जा रहा है कि somebody is skipping all stages and saying that the vaccine will go to human trial in a big way. In 1950s, the same was done with the polio vaccine across the world when polio became a huge killer. And the same was done, but it took a few years. Back then, scientific progress was very slow. But the polio vaccine eventually was successful and while these stages were skipped. We do not know whether the Russian vaccine will be successful or not. We hope it will be. But the sheer risk which Russia is taking is absolutely astonishing. We probably, if my recommendation is there, India should not yet participate in such a test because this vaccine is perhaps one of the most untested vaccines which is being claimed to be successful. The WHO still lists this Sputnik V vaccine in the phase 1 trial, which is against what Russia is claiming. So this is what you needed to know about the Sputnik V vaccine. I'm amazed at the sheer courage which Russia is showing to take such an untested vaccine out to the market. I'm not sure whether this is the right strategy. Do remember that the Oxford vaccine is doing remarkably well, and they hope that the vaccine would be out maybe by the end of this year, maybe by early next year. The prudent strategy would be to actually wait for that. Regardless of what you do, remember that as of now, that vaccine is not available, neither the Russian vaccine, nor the Oxford vaccine, nor the AstraZeneca vaccine, or the Moderna vaccine, or the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. None of the vaccines are available right now. The only thing you can do to protect yourself from coronavirus is to ensure you don't get coronavirus. That's it for this Sputnik V vaccine. I hope you find it insightful, and I hope I was able to explain to you कुछ ऐसी चीजें जो मीडिया से जो कह रहे हैं लोग उसके बियॉन्ड हम जा करके आपसे डिस्कस कर पाए और आपको वो बात समझ में आई और आप उसको फर्दर कम्युनिकेट करेंगे. Do keep aligned with all our broadcasts in coronavirus. I'll be sharing new and new knowledge with a very whatever research we can do so that we bring in the insights. Thank you and good night.